fucking hate that Roomba.
Got it.
Damn it. So you guys have seen you guys have seen most of my snakes in my videos, and you've seen that for the most part they are relatively well established. They're used to humans. We don't appear as threats to them, and they're healthy and happy. As happy as a snake could be. Now when an animal is super stressed out, they will refuse food. And if they refuse food for too long, unfortunately they will die. And that's kind of one of the negative factors of having an animal in captivity, is if it is too fearful, it'll be too stressed, it won't eat, it won't drink, it won't do anything, and basically it won't try and save itself, and it will just perish. So I had a friend from out of state contact us and ask me, hey, would you mind, trying to spend some time with this animal? I can't get it to eat. Really worried that it's gonna die. Do you think you could take it in for a little bit of time, see if you can get it eating? And it was one of those questions that was like, well, I mean, obviously I would love to. So it's kind of a scary proposition. I obviously want to do everything within my power to make sure that this animal gets a fighting chance, but further than that, Washington State's laws are kind of weird. So as the law dictates, I have 21 days of being able to keep this animal before I have to give it back. So there are certain animals in Washington State that are illegal. Some of them rightfully so. Some of them are kind of like, you just lumped everything into one category and thought, this is going to be all-inclusive. One example of those animals, illegal in Washington State, but legal pretty much everywhere else, is water monitors. Okay, so water monitors include everything from monitors that get no bigger than 12-13 inches, but it is also inclusive to things like, croc monitors and things that can actually kill you. And the irony behind this is an iguana, believe it or not, can kill the fuck out of you if it wanted to. We had an iguana for a while. It was about 4 feet long, and it was nasty. It was a very, very, very aggressive iguana. Aggressive to the point that it actually tried to jump out of its enclosure to attack me every single time that it saw me. So with that said, you can go to your local PetSmart and buy an iguana for $70, $80. Another one that's been outlawed is porcupines, capybaras, non-human primates, monkeys. So the biggest thing on the list, for me that's kind of a bummer that they just went all-inclusive on this, was number 1, vranids, being water monitors. And number 2 is crocodilians. So crocodilians, obviously, nobody should really have a crocodile or an alligator. There are some subspecies of crocodiles that are really, really small, really great for educational purposes. You basically get all of the cool factor of having a full-size croc, but it never really gets bigger than 3 or 4 feet. Would it be really cool to own? Oh god, yeah. Can I? Unfortunately, no. So the animal that I'm actually getting today, that I have, again, 21 days as per Washington State law, to try and get eating again and try to get healthy, is Cuvier's dwarf caiman. Dwarf caimans are the smallest crocodilian. They max out at about 3 feet for a male and about 4.5 feet for a female. That's about the size of, well, the nasty iguana that we had. So, do I personally believe these should be illegal in Washington State? No. I think that it's kind of an all-encompassing thing where they just said, no crocodilians. What are you gonna do? We have a caiman lizard, so it doesn't really count. So anyways, we are expecting a dwarf caiman at our door this morning. really high hopes here that he's going to start eating, and really high hopes that he is going to eventually be a healthy animal in the future and for the rest of his life. Again, kind of a stupid law. With dwarf caimans, their teeth, even full grown, never really exceed about that length. Now, I have retics whose teeth are this long, and they're actually razor sharp. You know when you see in all of those, like, you know, wild animal channels, and they have like a bear that has claws that are about as sharp as the tip of this pen, and they say, oh, it's razor sharp claws, and you're looking at it like, that's not razor sharp, but teach their own. Retics and boas, they actually have needle sharp and razor sharp teeth. So a bite from a tiny little crocodile might give you a puncture wound. Might. You get bitten by any retic, you're bleeding. Their teeth are hooked, so when you get bit, it gets flesh, and once it's in your flesh, if it decides to not let go, the only way is, well, essentially the smartest way would be to push forward to get those teeth out and then open, because on the backside, right here of their teeth, it actually is razor sharp. So when they bite and pull, they lacerate flesh. Now in a crocodilian, you just have a stubby little tooth that essentially is kind of like a misshapen molar. And it's not really so much for lacerating as it is just to kind of hold on to things. Think of it more of like a textured grip as opposed to a lacerating grip. Here's an example really quick. So this is the skull of a 5-foot Burmese python. I don't really think I need to say more, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit more of an overview of this. So I separated the upper and lower mandibles just to give you guys a better view. Again, this is from a 5-foot Burm. And here, for a point of reference of size, my pen that I was using earlier. And you just take a look at not only this outer row of teeth, but yes, this inner row. And these are much sharper, much bigger. So this is the upper mandible. There's the eye cap. And then we look at the lower mandible. So again, 5-foot Burmese python. Now, most of the snakes that you've seen, I only have one Burm. Most of the snakes that you've seen on my channel are reticulated pythons, and they get upwards of 20 feet. So it's a bit silly of what we can have here and can't have here. And the other thing too is with the reticulated python, it's pretty obvious here, but they can strike. Okay? If you don't want to get bitten by a crocodilian, don't put your finger in its mouth. You'll probably be fine. If you don't want to get bitten by a reticulated python, don't be around a reticulated python. That's pretty much the only way to guarantee you're not going to get bit. In the animal kingdom, you're in their world and you're kind of at the mercy of what they decide to do. And don't kid yourself, reticulated pythons are much faster than you will ever be. And if they wanted to strike you, they definitely could. Now imagine on a reticulated python whose teeth are considerably bigger and sharper. I unfortunately don't have a skull of one, but imagine one caught you in the throat. Yes, you are dying. I've seen and heard of people dying from getting bitten in the thigh because it caught a femoral artery and they bled to death. So again, just furthering proof that laws are kind of silly. Maybe Washington should probably, definitely, 100% revise its laws regarding certain water monitors and certain crocodilians. Because I personally believe, as far as an educational standpoint goes, if I was to go do shows or something, owning one of these dwarf caimans would be absolutely invaluable to be able to show kids, to be able to show everyone what a crocodilian is actually like and have them actually be able to handle it, obviously with a taped mouth. So it breaks my heart that I can't just keep this animal and make sure that it continues eating. Because ultimately this isn't a pet for this person, it's kind of like a, hey, you know, this animal needs to be eating before I sell it. Obviously I would love to take it, but I can't. You are 130 pounds. Let me see these. Look at that. You're a big retard, but you're totally legal. You're a big sweetie. Could you kill me more better than a crocodilian? I think so. I think so. Love you. Okay, let me show you guys what we are working with here. We have a heat light for a basking spot. And right around 110 is where you want to see it, so got it perfect. You see the flow of water from there. That's being pulled from there. So you'll notice that this Viv is only about maybe 9 inches tall. And that's because, again, this is just a baby. If we go under here, you see this gigantic canister filter. So what's happening is water's being sucked in through here from that port over there, going through all of these different baskets of media to completely clean and sanitize the water, and then it gets pumped out around back through there and into there. This particular pump moves 150 gallons per hour. So what you're seeing is completely clean water, and this is turned down. Let me give you guys a full blast view here. So I have the feed valve at about 1/4. That's full flow. So I've calculated it, and the entire volume of this tank goes through that filter and gets reprocessed into brand new fresh water 11 times every 30 minutes. So essentially the point behind that is, obviously they defecate and pee in their water, and it needs to be clean. So you have to have a very expensive filtration system. Dwarf caimans are actually the least aquatic of all of the crocodilians. So he'll be spending most of his time up here, just kind of hanging out. And if he decides to go for a swim, he can. If he wants to hang out in a stream of water, he can. And he can thermoregulate. You can see over here, we're sitting at about 80 degrees. 86. 86. Mid to high 90s. And then in the actual hot part, right around 110. So he has enough room for a shallow dip, to be completely dry, to hang out in a waterfall, or to swim around, submerge himself, and that's actually a hide under that water. So as far as this goes, he has plenty of options as to what he wants to do. One thing that's kind of lacking here is a hide on his hotspot. The reason for that is he's kind of centrally located in a high traffic area of our living room, where he's going to be seeing people and dogs walking around all the time. So the hope is that if he doesn't have anywhere to hide, and he has no other option but to observe people and see that, hey, we aren't a threat, we're the things that are giving you food, humans are okay, hands are okay, you don't need to freak out, everything's fine. That's kind of what we do with our snakes. It's what we do with, well, pretty much all the rest of our reptiles. And then eventually they get so used to hands coming in and out, you don't have to be slow, you don't have to be careful anymore, you can literally just reach in, feed, and be done. That's how you get tame animals. If you give them a spot to hide, like this hide box here, and I'm like, oh hey, and he's going, oh shit, what just stuck its hand inside my home? Obviously that's going to freak them out. So if he absolutely has to hide, he can, but he can't for a very long time because, well, they can't stay underwater indefinitely. So he does have a safe spot for anxiety should he get scared. But the hope is that he's not going to be spending too much time in this hide, and he'll be spending time out here in this general area, kind of observing us and realizing that humans and hands and human voices and things moving around aren't a threat. So this by far is the most exciting animal we have ever unboxed. Again, unfortunately, not ours, but I'm really excited to meet it.
So little.
There is a caiman crocodile in my living room.
Hi, baby. Are you alive?
Oh my god, those eyes.
Hi, baby.
Let me zoom in.
Hi, baby.
You guys, there is a caiman crocodile in my wife's hands in my living room. Super menacing little teeth. Oh my god, you are so cute.
Can I hold you? Oh, you little handsome. Hi.
Baby, you're holding a crocodile.
Oh my god, he's so cute. Oh, I love his color. Look how dark he is. Look at this tail.
I want to give you chin scratches.
He's pretty cold.
We're gonna get you eaten, buddy. Hi. God, you're so cool. Alright, let's get you all warmed up.
You want to get warmed up, Beto? Welcome to your temporary home.
Oh my god, you're so cute. So he's obviously very tired and very cold. That's why he's being so slow, I hope. So I'm going to contact the owner really quick and let him know that he got here safely. And yeah, absolutely incredible. Something you'll notice about the dwarf caimans is they don't have the webbing in their rear feet. And again, that's just because they are very unlike normal caiman crocodiles. So they spend most of their time on land, and they aren't the biggest as far as swimming goes. So we will let this guy continue to warm up and go from there. So I didn't really do a whole lot of really keeping up with videos goes because I kind of didn't want to remember him. I cried like a bitch when we sent him back, but he actually got so incredibly chill and so incredibly nice that towards the end of owning him, I could put my hand on the rocks, on the dry spot on the rocks, and he would climb out of the water, climb up to my hand, and if I didn't have food in my hand, he would climb on top of my hand and then like up my arm. So towards the end of owning him, if you got anywhere near him and he could see you, he would run up his rocks and like make sure that he was as visible as possible. And like you'd walk over there and he would start running around like a dog. It was absolutely adorable. He loved being held and he absolutely loved fishing. So he did thrive, and we actually got him eating within the first 2 days. We did get him extremely, extremely social. I'll post a video inside this video of me just walking up and just touching him. He became a very, very nice crocodile, and I hope he's still doing well.